I see everyone showing up here. So for those on Instagram who this is kind of new for, I'm going to do my karma card readings here, as well as on Facebook. So if you see me looking off camera, I'm just looking at the other groups here, but it's so good to have you here. First thing I want to check in with people is over the last, let's say, week to week and a half, how many people have felt their energy dip? All right, did you feel a dip? And this can happen in lots of ways, right? We can be experiencing things like low energy because of fatigue or maybe headaches. A lot of people getting headaches, a lot of incoming energies coming in right now. So that's happening to a lot of people. They're feeling fatigue, they're feeling headaches, they're feeling restless at night. So those are some of the physical symptoms. I'm curious if anyone's feeling some spiritual symptoms, like of the fact that like maybe you can connect quite easily to your own spiritual energies, your team and spirit, and perhaps it feels like you're having a hard time, like there's almost something interfering, or a block. If you're someone who can connect easily with your own team and spirit, your own energies, your guides, right, your higher self, and you're feeling that block, I just want to let you know that you are doing it okay. You're doing everything you're supposed to do. There is extra energy being kind of sent to suppress or block higher frequencies. So you have to remember that we're in a system that's dismantling. And I'm just going to talk about it from the spiritual level, although you can see it at every level. We're in a system that's dismantling. That means we're halfway between a better system and the old system. So there was an old system of energy around the earth. A lot of people refer to it as like the negative energy matrix. It's almost like you can think of it like an energy fence, like an electric fence, right? Around the earth. And what this would do is it literally kind of on an energetic level was kind of maintaining a certain frequency on the earth for people. And you would have to work really hard to penetrate it, right? So this is we would have to meditate for longer periods of time. We would have to really visualize and concentrate and connect with our energy and imagine like really pushing it through to break through this sort of like low frequency barrier that was out there. And we've done it, and you've done it especially in many lifetimes. So people are used to that feeling, number one. They're used to having to like push through a certain kind of resistance to reach their energy up. Hey, Agnes, good to see you. Number one. Number two, when you broke through that, and we break through it all the time, this little net, if you will, this electric fence, would be bust open. You'd bust a hole in it, right? And you'd send this high level of energy out. And as you do that, you're sort of making yourself easier to see in energy, right? And I do say, I don't want to get too caught up in good and bad, good and evil, that kind of thing, because I feel like you've got to remember that it's polarity. Let's just call it polarity, right? Like, and there was sort of a stronghold in a negative energy sense in this place. So every time you broke through that barrier, you kind of made yourself look like a little antenna going up, and like it's like a little flag, like here I am breaking through, right? And so when we do that, energy gets directed to suppress that, to mend the hole, like punching a hole through a fence, and then something goes, nope, we got to fix this fence, we've got to mend it back together. Here's the thing, that fence is coming apart more and more. And that means that there's, first of all, one, you don't have to work so hard to send your energy up and out anymore. It's you do it quite easily and much more quickly now. Two, because so many people are sending their energy up and out, the mending process doesn't necessarily get to us as quickly. You kind of stay open longer, right? So it's like you've punched through, or you're in an opening and you're out, your energy is up and out, and you can stay there for longer now. There's a sense of like raising your antenna and getting to hang out in this better feeling zone for a while. So I think that as that has been happening, those who are used to that feeling of getting our energy up and out, it feels really good. And for a while, we were kind of hanging out and like floating in this beautiful space of higher energy. But the old system is not completely dismantled, and they're still trying to do their best to mend the fence. Okay, so if you felt like suddenly you got hit with a negative energy or lower energy, or suddenly you're not getting that super easy connection you were for a while there, does that mean you did something wrong? Nope. No, you didn't. You didn't do anything wrong. All it means is that the rebalance of an old system is coming back through, and you kind of got, it's just, I keep seeing like a sweet streaper in my head. It's moving really slowly to try and clear the energy or maintain it at a certain level. And it's kind of like you got caught up in the sweeping, right? I just want to reassure all of you who are doing the work, who might have felt a low or a slump, to know that that has nothing to do with what you're doing and everything to do with the fact that this system is still partially in place. So what does that mean for us? It just means that, one, some days the connection is going to be a lot easier. You're going to feel like you're connecting in with higher frequencies almost effortlessly. And then there are going to be days still where it feels like quite a bit of effort. It doesn't mean that you have lost power. It doesn't mean that you have somehow failed to connect accurately. It just means that this is one of those days where you kind of got swept up in that energy cleanup of an old system. I've connected with quite a few amazing light workers this week who are so powerful. I mean, I know them personally. I know how powerful they are. And they all kind of hit a slump at the same time. And if I had to think for a second, I'm like, did I get that slump? I did, but I kind of knew it was coming, so it didn't take me out, if that makes sense. I mean, it didn't stop me from trying again. But I did see a few people kind of like feel like withering a little bit. And if that happens to be you, you did nothing wrong. You're not kicked out of the club. I just want you to know that, because as the game progresses, as we clear more and more of the negative out, they're fighting back still. They are fighting back still. Concentrating is harder. It is harder, but time is speeding up. So what I want you to let go of is that, one, can you let go of the belief that you have to concentrate as hard as you used to? And letting go of that lets you know that it's not about how long you can stay in it, but how much you return. Does that make sense? So it's not about standing strong the whole time and staying focused and connected in when you're being beaten energetically with so much low frequency. It's about, fell over, and you get right back up. Like, you know, those little punching bags where the little thing knocks over, but then it bounces back up. So it's not about how concentrated or good you're doing at it. It's about getting back up every time. Just bounce right back up. I just want you to keep focused on the idea that that doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It means, what did you do right? You're doing something right because you're getting attention and energy, meaning like, oh, we've got to suppress this one. We got to send her lower frequency so she'll stop. So you just keep bouncing back up. Just keep bouncing back up. That's number one. I'm going to release a podcast episode where I go over in detail again about dealing with negative energy and how to stay in a powerful place when dealing with low vibrations. It's just going to be a quick episode to keep you focused and remind you that nothing more powerful than you is coming at you. I promise you this. We have given negative energy and negative entities way too much power for way too long. And these beings are not superior. They want you to think that, because then you won't fight back, right? And it's the same metaphor. I think I used it at the Spirit Circle. I'm going to use it here. Maybe I used it here too. But it's that same feeling of where is the boogie monster scarier? In a dark room where you can't see it, or with a light shining on it? Doesn't matter how scary that monster is. If you can see it, at least you know, right? At least you know what you're dealing with, no matter what it is. It's like, now I can see you. Now I can assess you. So So negative energies and negative groups like to work in the shadows. This is how they do it. And why? Because when you don't know what it is, it can be anything. And it's really letting the power of your imagination work against you. When you know what it is, right? When you pull back the curtain and you see who the Wizard of Oz really is, suddenly you're like, oh, okay, this is just this old dude, right? Like that's it. Like that's kind of the feeling we get when we face it and look at it and call it out, this energy. So negative energy doesn't want you doing that. It would rather use the power of your own mind against you to keep you from feeling empowered. So the minute that you're like standing in your own power and you're like, there's nothing here that I can't deal with, game over. And you just, again, you're like that little, even if you get a punch, you just come right back up and you're like, let's do this. So now what I wanted to talk to you about was how what I want to talk about is the ways that we can identify what's going on with us, because no matter what you feel about this time period, there's two things you can know, that there's trauma that you've experienced, and there's also PTSD, which means even if you've passed the trauma, because the threat of trauma is not over, it keeps you in a place of feeling post-traumatic stress. Sometimes in these situations, I mean, the way that this whole thing is working is to continue to feel traumatized. And when we're in fight or flight, many times we're not taking the time to assess what's going on with us. We're just like head down, power through. I got to get through this. On the other side of this, I'll be able to deal with whatever's going on with me emotionally. But remember, fight or flight is it's meant to be a temporary state. It's meant to be a state that you're only in for a little bit of time until you feel like you can be out of danger. With the way the information is going out, with the way that we're constantly getting, this is happening, no, this is happening, now this is happening, that keeps people in a state of repetitive trauma. And when we're in that state, we must learn how to adapt. I mean, if we're going to take our personal sovereignty, meaning our sense of calm, peace, and power back, we need to look at where it's hitting us and start working on those areas now. So what I'd like to do is teach you something through the art of palmistry. I'd like to teach you a little bit of something about how to identify the areas and how it's affecting you by checking out your nails, okay? The nails, why the nails? The nails are directly connected to our nervous system. And so what are they're literally windows to our nervous system. It's like little monitors on your body that can help you know what's going on. Okay, so this is like a little mini lesson from my palmistry course that I taught in School for Spirit. And I probably will be launching it again someday in the future. But I remember this information being so helpful when we were studying it together. And I was like, dang, you know what? I use this for myself all the time to kind of address where things are at. And I thought, I wonder how many people know that they can do it. Your body is so incredible. Your body is the librarian. It stores all information about you, past, present, and even future thoughts like that you're holding about yourself are stored here. So learning how to read the body is such an incredible tool in healing right now. So what we're going to focus on today is texture. There's a lot of other things we can get from our nails, but I want to look at texture. I want to grab a pen and paper. I'll give you a second to do that so that you can track these things. And what I would do if I had a pen and paper with me is I draw like a little U shape and make a little curve over the top, and that would represent the actual nail itself right here. Okay. So I want to show you firstly where you can spot signs of nervous system upset on a timeline in your fingernails, okay? Timeline on the fingernails. Now, I don't see how close I can get to the camera. All right, so right here at the very bottom of your nail bed, there's that little white kind of half moon shape right there, okay? When we see something in this little window, this little white shape at the bottom of each nail, that time represents present time, all right? So in your little diagram, I would put right here is present, right? The little nail bed connecting bit. Now halfway across your nail, that would be the 3-month marker. So if you could draw a line like right through the middle horizontally through your nail, that's halfway, and that's 3 months. And let's see, how long have we been in this situation now? Yeah, about 3 months. So we might see some activity right in here. Okay, now closer to the top of the nail, under the right where it kind of starts to grow out, so right underneath the little white ridge in your nail, I'm sorry, that white like little divider, you know, the bit you'd chop off if you were cutting your nail, where it connects, that little line, you can call that 6 months. Okay, some people's nails grow longer, and obviously anything above the pad would be I almost got disconnected. Anything above the pad would be more than 6 months. Now we know the timeline. Now we know what timeline we're looking at. We've got present, 3 months out, 6 months out. So 6 months in the past, 3 months in the past, present. We're going to look and see if we have what's called fluting. So the base nail texture, like what's considered to be healthy or undisturbed, I guess, in this case, is a fairly smooth, flexible texture. Fairly smooth and flexible. So it's not hard or rigid or dry. It's got some give to it. And the nails themselves are fairly smooth. Okay, so that's what would be called the healthy baseline. Now, the first sign that we're going to look for is called fluting. Okay, and now this can be mild to quite drastic. So it varies, right? There's not one kind. It's kind of based on where you're at emotionally. So fluting is when there's lines that are vertical, running up and down the nails, fluted. It's almost like your nails look, the nail face itself looks almost chiseled in a way. It's got facets. That's fluting. You're looking for fluting. Now, I noticed that with fluting, that can be directly related health-wise to dehydration. I've noticed that when I'm slightly dehydrated, like I am today, that I see more fluting on those days than when I'm fully hydrated. If you're seeing mild vertical lines on your nails, you might be dehydrated and or a little nervous. So fluting is actually an indicator of an overworked nervous system when you see fluting. So the deeper the ridges, the more pronounced the ridges are, the drier they are, dehydration, but also your nervous system is overrunning. It's definitely you're in overwhelm. When we see fluted nails, we're looking at a very overwhelmed person. Other thing that could be going on here is that you're feeling extreme nervous tension. So if you're seeing lots of fluting, deep ridges vertically, notice, is it on every nail? Okay, so I want you to just take a note for yourself. Is it on every nail, or is it like most nails are smooth, but then there's this one nail that's like super rigid? So note number 1, mild ridging on all the nails, possibly dehydrated. 2, more severe ridging on one nail, that's definitely a specific area. And then it's possible to have it on all. And of course, if you have it on all, this is extreme nervous tension that's happening in the body. And we'll definitely talk about things we can do to help us feel more calm and grounded. We're going to move on to what's called a horizontal ridge. Now, remember the time markers. Remember, so for the fluting, that's interesting. That's the one you can't really see a time marker on because it's not like it starts at one spot and then stops. It's like up and down the nail, which just means I'm overwhelmed, I have a lot of nervous tension, and if it's on a specific finger, it's around a specific area of life. This next one is really important to note where the mark is, because that'll tell you what time it happened, what time period, okay? So what we're looking for is, do we have any horizontal lines going across our nails? And this can be a mild line, a mild indentation, or it can be pretty severe. It almost looks like you got your finger jammed in a drawer, right? Like the nail really bends in at one point. So take a look. Do you have any horizontal ridges? And I actually did find one. I found two. So like I said, some of these, and holy crap, I'm having self-discovery moments with you while we're looking together. Oh my Lord. I bet you've guessed right now that depending on the depth of the ridge of this horizontal line, from light to intense, yeah, the horizontal ridge indicates serious illness or trauma. So someone who had maybe like a long-term illness or a sudden illness that overcame them would get a line like that across the nails. Trauma is the horizontal line. Now here's what I've discovered on mine, and it's kind of freaky. This hand, my non-dominant hand, all 4 fingers, and guess where it's at? It's right at the 3-month mark. What could have traumatized me 3 months ago? How about anybody else? Anybody else have that horizontal line? Like I said, it's very faint. In fact, I don't even know if I could show you. I can't really get a read on camera. You'd really have to look. I had to tilt it in the light, and what I see is just like a slightly raised looking line there, but really evenly and at the same spot on all 4 of those nails. So clearly, when things went south in March, that had an effect on me. Always starts at the base of the nail, right? So this is your nails are growing up and out all the time. We know this. So we wouldn't necessarily be able to catch these unless they were intense, like unless you saw a deep ridge in your nail. But it's growing up your nail all the time. Okay, and that just lets you know when it happens. So it's really interesting how accurate your body is like it has its own censoring system where it's reading you all the time and reporting back. And that's why I'm so fascinated by the hands, because the hands tell us so much information about ourselves. By the way, with the horizontal line, once it's grown past the tip of the finger, it's gone, right? So it's like a readout. It's like when we're reading the Schumann resonance and you see those spikes, right? So that spike is going to pass. So what it says is the horizontal line, it's talking about trauma and in some cases severe illness, and it's talking about the shock, the emotional shock that went through your body at the time that occurred, that horizontal ridge was created. Let's now look for white spots. Does anyone have a white spot? And again, with white spots, it's the same thing where you can actually track it through time. Remembering that right near the bottom of the nail is now. White spots in the middle are 3 months out, and then white spots towards the top of the fingers are 6 months out. So take a look at that. See if you're getting any kind of white spot. And again, sometimes these are faint. They look like minor discoloration, and sometimes it's like, no, that looks like a white spot. I definitely see it. White spots represent worry and concern. So these are reoccurring worries and concerns. If you had, I've seen people with multiple white spots in one nail, which means it's a repetitive worry. It's something they keep coming back to, and it's connected to, again, a certain area of life. There's also, again, there's always a health component. That's the interesting thing with the hands. Thanks for bringing that up. Is the hands are also can indicate health as well. I mean, we can look at nail color. Nail color is an indicator of health and vitality. Sometimes the hands can indicate different, can be an indicator of different organs in the body. So when we see white spots, we see like a concern, like a thought or a concern that keeps coming back to this person, that there's genuine worry or concern in this area. These are less serious, by the way, than a ridge. The ridge is a deep, it's like a tremor that's being registered by the body, an emotional shock. Whereas the white spots are more like, I'm worried. There's constant energy in a certain area of worry and concern. Sometimes the white spots indicate a lot of worry in a small pocket of time too. So it's not necessarily like they're constantly waking up worried about the same thing, but it can be like a concentrated amount of worry about something, and that'll register as a white spot. Okay, so now we know the time windows and we know a couple of the texture indicators. That's all we're looking at today is texture. Texture tells us a lot. So let's look at what each finger means. So the pointer finger is actually called Jupiter. And Jupiter's a lucky finger, right? It's our expanding doing. It's our magic wand. It makes it happen, right? So when we're dealing with issues on Jupiter up here, this has a lot to do with it's our connection, right? So there's a reason why you see that picture of Adam and God touching pointer fingers, right? This has to do with faith. Jupiter definitely has to do with our feelings of faith. It has to deal with personal, our sense of personal achievement or personal leadership. Jupiter represents leadership or self, our ability to deal with something. So when we're seeing indicators on Jupiter, we're feeling insecure about how can we handle this. And we might also feel like we're having a crisis of faith whenever Jupiter is showing indications of worry or stress, right? So it's just my personal power is Jupiter. The middle finger is known as Saturn. This is Saturn. So when we're dealing with Saturn, Saturn's naturally a worrier, by the way. It's like of all the fingers, like one of the biggest downers is Saturn. There's a reason why we give people the middle finger. We're giving them Saturn, right? Like it's a kind of bummer. It's Saturn. It's all the stuff that you would associate with the planet. Saturn is finances. Saturn is money. Saturn is responsibility. Saturn is workload. Saturn is karma. And so when we're seeing stress indicators on Saturn, we're being stressed out in the areas of responsibility, security, and finances predominantly. Those are the big focus. Stress on our ring finger is Apollo, right? So now you're starting to see like why we use our fingers the way we do or what the indicators mean. So Apollo is naturally our ring finger, although look at me, I'm like decorating everybody. Apollo is our ring finger. Apollo being the sun, Apollo being our creativity, our reputation. Our Apollo is connected to good luck and it's looking connected to our ability of what we're putting out in the world. It's the finger of fame as well. Like there's a lot connected to it about destiny and like how lucky we will be. Apollo is considered a very lucky finger, which is why we put a ring on that finger because we're increasing its luck. And when you put a gold ring on that finger, gold for the sun, Apollo, you're increasing the luck in romance as well. So when we're having issues on Apollo, we're seeing that we're worried about our relationships. We're worried about our ego as well. Like how is this going to fare for me? Like how am I going to handle this? And what's it going to do to my future? Like Apollo is often connected to future endeavors or what my creativity will bring to me. So when we're seeing nervous tension on Apollo, we're worried about what's going to happen to me in the future, what's going to happen to my fortune, my good luck, and what am I creating now? Am I going to get it back, right? Or am I going to get acknowledged for that? Then Mercury, your little pinky finger. Mercury is, again, it's associated with very much with business. Communication and business are very much connected to Mercury, but this also has to do with money as well. Different from Saturn. Saturn is finances and like how I handle things, but this is like how quickly does money come into me. So if we're stressing about like the money coming in, or our business, like a lot of people I bet might have some stuff going on. Thank you. With Mercury. You might see some of that there. Also family connections happen with Mercury. So if there's any stress or tension or worry around family, that might show up on Mercury. Now the thumb is called the thumb. Like the thumb doesn't get a special planet. I don't know why, other than the fact that the thumb is actually what makes humans unique. I mean, this makes us, it really is a big part of why we're humans at all, because it gives us the ability to create. So the thumb is considered like its own special digit because it sort of represents everything in life. It's kind of like the sum total of everything here. But the biggest thing that it deals with is personal power, like willpower, like getting your way or being able to establish what you want, and also any issues with leadership. So if you're seeing any indicators on the thumb, these are the issues that are coming up. Do I have the ability to create what I want? Can I get is it going to work out in my favor? Because our will, when we're reading the palm, everything we need to know about, does somebody have the stuff to take it all the way? Do they have what it takes to take their dream all the way? Shows up in the thumbs. So when we see that, we are worrying about these issues. Also leadership. So whatever, and I mean, like, makes sense to me if someone's seeing, if someone's having stress and worry about this. I mean, leadership is sort of a big thing right now that everybody's dealing with and addressing. So if you're seeing indicators of stress there, it makes sense to me. And again, it's like the sum total readout of humanity. So it makes sense to me that if there was drama, the thumb would be a natural place to register it. Based on what we're dealing with here, let's talk about ways that we can start soothing the energy now, because this is all recorded as what is done, right? Like everything that's happened, even if it's in the present, it's already happened. We're dealing with fluted nails, the vertical lines on the nails. It is a very important time to go get your feet on the earth. It's getting warmer in some places, especially in the northern hemisphere. It's getting warmer for us. So getting your naked bare feet on the earth and standing there for, hey, if you can do 10 minutes, that would be great. Just walk around. Walk around on the grass if you can. It's going to ground your energy. When we are feeling overwhelmed, we're not in our body. We are like in our head and spinning out of it. So anything that we can do to ground ourselves deeper into our body is going to be a blessing for us. It's going to bring us that sense of calm. A little sea salt to your water, like salt. Salt is the earth, right? Then salt of the earth. Getting salt in you can help also create that anchoring feeling. Kind of black crystal. So this one is a polished black tourmaline. And it's not the prettiest form of black tourmaline, but I like it because tourmaline can be kind of flaky in its raw form and a little bit rubby against the skin. So this polished black tourmaline works really well for sticking in your bra. And yes, I have stuck this giant Hurricane rock in my bra because I don't care now. I'm like, I don't care if I look like I have a third boob. This is helping me ground. So any way that we can create a sense of grounding, we start to take that tension out of our head and move it down. You want to think about it like moving through your body into your feet and into the ground. You really need to grant yourself seriously some time and try it daily if you can, but at least a couple times a week where this is your time to cocoon and heal. And I mean, do all the things that feel good. I mean, so if you're a person, for example, who would take a bath to relax, I'm asking you to go ultra bath, okay? Like get the sea salt in there, put the candles on, turn the lights out, Get your favorite tea or beverage, have it there with you, and you need to make this a sanctuary, right? Get yourself in that place. I personally like to do like a sanctuary bath, and the reason why is because naturally your body relaxes in the warm water. You can't help it. 2, with the Epsom salt or sea salt or both, that's grounding again. So now you're getting the soothing energy of the water, but also the grounding of the salt. And number 3, it emulates the womb where you felt the safest. In this whole physical existence, the womb was a very safe place. So when you do that and you create it, then you are spending time, and you can put your hand on your heart and be with yourself, and you're saying, I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. 2016, my team started saying to me, we need to unroot all of our ideas of what security is. We need to take those roots out of the external world and plant them internally. At the time, I was like, okay, okay. When I got that message, they made it very clear that it's time to extract these roots from the external world and plant them in an internal place. If you're basing your sense of safety on something outside of you, I guarantee you are setting it up to be taken away. Why? Because it simply can, right? If your sense of safety is in a house, is in money, is in a country, is in a family, is in a lover, and anybody, if you're planting that out there, it can be taken away. And it's not that these things can't enhance our feelings of safety and security, but they shouldn't be what gives you safety and security, right? So when we find a way to connect to that feeling internally, knowing that it's always there, knowing that it is your right to feel safe and secure, when we can find that connection, for some of us, it takes a long time. It took me a long time. When we find that and we create it and then we allow it, we just keep going back and I am safe in me. I am safe here. Then you start to really get that feeling of like, I can do this back. That self-empowerment, it comes back. So if you take time for yourself to do that, you are empowering yourself every single time and healing trauma at the same time. So if I was worrying with my Saturn finger, right, then I'm looking at responsibilities, I'm looking at finances, I'm looking at security. If I can look at where I'm worrying, I can then establish that same sense of I am safe right now. In this present moment, I am safe. Now, this is one of my favorite exercises to get me back on track, where I am no longer fantasizing about gloom and doom. Because most of our fears, most of our worries are about things that have not yet happened. And so we are robbing ourselves of peace in the present moment. And when I've gone through really hard times in my life, I've used this technique to help me stay present versus going down the fear spiral. And all it is a present moment checklist, right? So, a lot of people worry about money, about what's going to happen to me in a month, in 3 months, right? They think about that and they start freaking out. You need to look at, this is exactly what I have right now, right? This already exists. I know I have blank. And that gets you present, that it exists. We're already thinking about it as gone or spent, but if it's there, right? And it doesn't really matter what the amount is. It's just that money is there. And there's more, and there's probably more coming if you're really connecting in with that. You can look at your surroundings. You can look at the people around you. Maybe you're worried about others. You can look and acknowledge that they're here. I see you. I see that you are okay. I can hear my kids outside. I know they're with their dad. I know they're safe. That's present moment. And that helps ground you into this moment. When you realize how safe you are, you're so safe in this moment that you're able to worry about the future. When you kind of make that connection that I'm that safe, I'm so safe that I can literally leave my body and head and go to some other place, then it connects you back to your sense of internal security and safety. And then you realize that worry is more or less a choice. It's a choice you're making. And then you can then either continue to make it knowing you are safe, or you can decide, I don't want to be there. I don't want to do that. And again, reclaiming that sense of peace back in the moment. Get present with what is happening right now. And many times you'll find that you're safer than you think you are. For those who have not done karma cards with me before, here's what we do. We've got 3 decks here. The planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message for right now? And I pulled the answer, purple, okay? And I just read across the cards. I have answers in red. These are action answers. And then I have answers in blue, which are outcome. And the way that you play is you simply decide if you need an action answer right now, which you can type in red for action. You can put a red heart or something red. If you want an outcome related answer, type in blue for outcome. And then a lot of people want both, and you can type in purple or you can type in both. And I think that, I always feel like these messages really work well together. Let me tell you the flavor of this reading. We've got the South Node. Boom, boom, boom. South Node. South Node's always about the past, and it's always about the lessons we have to learn. South Node, not always so fun, but necessary. In Capricorn, so these lessons, these South Node lessons are intense, and they're definitely connected to this time period because it's a very Capricornian time. In the 11th house is friends, wishes, and community. It's very much the house of humanity, and it's ruled by Aquarius, which is the visionary futurist, right? So it's always the 11th house has to do with what we want for the future, what we want for other people, what we want for our friends, what we're wishing will happen, and for humanity together. So this is all connected from the past, the work of the past right now. Okay, so for those who are choosing red or action or both, your spiritual action at this time, remember your goals for humanity's sake. Remember your goals for humanity's sake. Now these cards, I swear to God, they've come up with like 15 different ways of saying the same message. You guys are good. So what I hear is remember your goals for humanity's sake. Remember what you're focusing on. So we're constantly getting manipulated, or like, woohoo, look over here, look at this thing, look at this new scary, there's something else is happening, it's really scary, it's really upsetting, take a look at this. And it's constantly pulling our attention over to it. And they're saying, remember what you're focusing on. And remember you're the team leader, and remember you're the one making the choice. Nobody makes the choice of what to look at for you other than you. So remember what you're focusing on for the sake of everybody. So remember your goals. What you're focusing on for the future is your goals. What do you want the future to look like? That's your goals. Do it for yourself and for everybody, because those who are paying attention and those who are conscious and aware, we're kind of bringing everybody with us, okay? Like we're taking the ones who aren't aware and making the choices onto a certain timeline, if enough of us are doing the heavy lifting. So, and we want to, those of us who are aware and on board, we want to help everybody. So they're saying, remember, that's the job. Don't get distracted. Stay on goal. Mental action at this time. Reconsider the day-to-day reality of your hopes and wishes. Reconsider the day-to-day reality of your hopes and wishes. Now, this one's really interesting. So they're saying, look at your goals. Look at what it is that you want. And are we idealizing what that looks like every day? Like, is it like a perfect world that's like tra la la la, and everyone's always holding hands under a special tree with the sun bursting out and a rainbow shooting overhead? Is that the day-to-day reality? Probably not. That's the idealized version. So what I'm saying is you need that big overarching view with the rainbow and the tree and the sunshine and the hands holding. We need that. That's the kind of the feeling of it. The day-to-day reality might mean that what we're really working with here is compassion, forgiveness, understanding. What does it mean to hold hands and be tra-la-la? I know that's so technical of me to say that. What does that mean? Well, it probably means that we are allowing more, less controlling. It probably means that when people have opposing points of view, that are strongly differing from ours, that we hold space and recognition for that. And we listen, and we give what we want to receive, and we do it authentically and from the heartfelt place. We do that. That's what it looks like day to day. The overall feeling is the hand-holding tra-la-la moment, right? In the basking sun under a rainbow. So as we start to break down what our big goal looks like in a step-by-step sense, then we get to see it, and then we can start enacting it, right? From that place, from that very practical day-to-day place, we can start doing it now. We're bringing heaven here with every action that we choose. With every thought and action, we bring it forward. And when we stop and think about how does that look, then we actually know the steps to take. Super simple, right? Okay, physical action. Now is not the time to use the most business-like way and do it for the future. This is connected to the last statement I made. They're simply saying it in another way. When we look at the day-to-day reality of the future we want to see, when we look at the day-to-day reality of the future we want to see, we get the action steps that we need. And therefore, it's not about doing it in the future. It's about doing it now. And they're showing me a staircase. Every step you take moves you into that desired future, which is why it's so important not to get distracted. Because imagine you've been taking steps. I imagine you already have been taking steps on this beautiful staircase. But every time we get distracted, we can either stop and we don't keep moving into that timeline, or we can go backwards down the steps and we're going up and down and up. We're not actually getting anywhere, if that makes sense. So it's really important to not just idealize the future, but go, what's it going to take to get there? What do I have to do? Because that's the only thing that we can control, is what do we do individually? What do I do to get there? It's very much like owning it and recognizing that the work is about, what am I doing? Am I doing what I want for tomorrow today? Ooh, that's a good one. Am I doing what I want to see tomorrow today? Am I doing it? That's a really great question to ask ourselves, because it can help you move up the staircase in energy, move up to the higher timeline. For those who are choosing blue or outcome at this time, the outcomes for the South Node, remember the past in Capricorn, in the 11th house of the humanitarian and future wishes. Spiritual outcome, there will not be dedication to achieve freedom. So this again goes back to, right? Oh, and what is the time period on this, by the way? June 1st. So from now to June 1st, this is going right back to what I started with about the energy bombardment and how people are trying hard to reach up in energy and they feel like they're getting suppressed. That part of the game gets harder. The smarter and stronger you get. I want you to think about this. Does anybody remember old school Nintendo? Anybody play Mario Brothers? That was like the only game I could kind of partially play at all. I never made it very far, but that was the only game I could actually kind of play. It was Mario Brothers, right? But you remember in this game, old school Nintendo, as you progress through the levels, they get harder, right? The mazes get trickier, the bosses get tougher. And that's kind of the metaphor of this time. As you become more sovereign, more self-aware, more self-directed, more empowered, the game advances too. And I see that we have made a new step in the game. I feel it as a group, as a collective. We've made a new step. The game just got up to the next level harder. Does this mean you should give up? Does this mean you should throw in the towel? Does this mean you can't play it? Not at all. It means you have acquired new skills and you've got to figure out how to use these skills. You're more advanced than you may know. Some of you, I think, know, but I think even ones who have an inkling of how advanced you are, you still doubt it. Right? So as we progress up in levels, it gets a little scarier. It starts to feel a little more intimidating, and we suddenly we start to doubt ourselves. I will say this, and it's not a prediction. I just want to even predictive programming, meaning what they've shown us and kind of how they prepare us to understand it, is that right before we win, it gets harder. And in Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art, the last battle is the toughest battle. Resistance is strongest at the end. Right before Hogwarts wins and, Voldemort goes down, Harry Potter looks like he died, right? Sorry if I'm spoiling that for anybody, but it's been out there for a while. So my point is that don't let it take you off track. Don't let it take you out of your power. Know the game and know that I was just talking to an amazing person who I can't wait to talk about more. But I was listening to her podcast, and she had talked about a statistic that it was something like 1 in something like 5.4 trillion people manifest on Earth. The odds of living on Earth, of being born on Earth, are 1 to 5.4 trillion. Take that in for a moment, please. Take that in. You, me, our friends, our family, we kind of take for granted that this is so easy. But what if with me for a second, you were brought here on purpose for a reason because you were the right person for the job? Ooh, I got shivers. What if you are the right person for this job? Okay, now understand that. So it says there will not be, during this time period, the 27th through the 1st, dedication to achieve freedom. That means there's going to be some people who are quitting the job a little early. I think temporarily. I think it's one of those fall down to get back up moments in energy. But I do feel I've had to reach out to a lot of people because they kind of disappeared, like just internalized. Something's happened that's caused a lot of people who are pretty open to internalize. That's why I wanted us to look at, where are we holding trauma? Are we holding worry? What are we holding? And that's what they're saying. It is happening right now. There's a giving up in energy. And the message to you is you're the right person for this job. Don't give up. If they knock you down, bounce back up. Okay? And I promise I will heed these words myself. And if I fall down, you'll watch me. I'll bounce back up. I might be a little upset, but I'm going to do it. And I'm just giving you a little bit of that courage and strength too. The mental outcome during this 27th through 1st window: anxiety about focusing on associations. Yeah. I don't know if I have to spell that one out. Anxiety about focusing on associations. So we're coming up to a major point in history this year with this next election coming up. And you better believe, I don't know where you fall in this, and it's really none of my business where people fall. But you better believe a lot of this stuff is about that moment, because there's an old system coming apart and some of the old guard wants it to be reinstated, and some people want it to blow wide open. And it is it's a battle. It's a battle that's playing out, and we're being used to some degree against each other. Anytime you see the messages of this against that, I would be suspicious. That's what I teach my kids to say, suspicious. Because that is a negative group's way of divide and conquer. Because if we're too busy fighting with each other, they can pull a whole bunch of shit on us that should not be allowed. So I'm always wary about anything that's causing division, and I'm always looking for that in myself. Am I being divisive? Am I falling for this? Am I starting to separate from people and getting distracted? 844, that's my team's number. Hey team. So I always look for that. Am I being tricked into fighting with those who I love versus focusing on what's going on for real? So I just pay attention to that. And look, everybody's getting triggered. Everybody's getting triggered. So it's not so much about that. It's how am I being asked to treat other people? And if I'm being asked to treat other people with anything less than love, respect, and understanding, then I am being played. And that's my 2 cents on it. Okay. So anxiety about focusing on associations. So people are feeling like they have to take sides. They're feeling it because it's being manipulated. Take a side, right? And this is causing us to get really nervous and upset, because if we do, then suddenly we're in a type of fight that we never intended to be in, nor do we want to be in. So is there an answer to that right now? Just be careful about anybody asking you to make something right or wrong. Question everything. Question everything. All right, physical outcome at this time. And again, the 27th through the 1st. Trouble resulting from the rules imposed by your circle of friends. Okay, so again, this has to do, I get the feeling, and I've been watching it, and they're doing stuff, and I think that more events are going to happen where it's getting people to yell at each other. I mean, I don't understand this. I really try not to engage. And my intention of coming on is always to lift this space. But I watch people yelling at each other as if those of us on the ground are doing this to each other, like we're attacking each other. There's verbal attack, sure, but these situations that are set up are not set up by your neighbor, your friend, your cousin, your parents, your kids. They're not being set up by those people. There are situations that are being set up on purpose to create desired outcomes and desired responses in each of us. And if we're not aware of that, if we're not aware that that's a tactic that's been used for a long time, then we play that game and we play into the game. And then suddenly we're not paying attention to the weird issues going on that need to be looked at and addressed. We're just fighting with each other. And that's what I get. Is there like trouble resulting from the rules imposed by circles of friends? So this is where, one of the biggest tactics they use, and they taught this too. I mean, the funny thing is, like, tell it to your face. I remember when, the DARE, keep kids off drugs, they would come in, right? And they would talk about all the different tactics that people would use to encourage you to get into a life of drugs, right? And like one of the biggest ones that they use is bandwagoning. Everybody's doing it. This is the right thing to do. Or social shaming. Oh, you think that? You're this and you're that. You're this bad thing. Now you're dumb and blah, blah, blah. Social shaming and bandwagoning. Ridicule. These are massive weapons that they've used to enforce norms on the public where they don't need to necessarily hire strong arms. They get the public to strong arm each other. And so all they have to do is introduce that little grain of sand into the cog to create the disturbance. And they let the mess make itself. So I'm always like cautious of that, because I can watch people who are beautiful souls, very reasonable, all of a sudden turn on another person that they've known forever and a long time, and just suddenly snap and bite and become very triggered and fearful of that other person for thinking or choosing to disagree. And it's very, it's sad to see it still happening at this time. And it's sad to see it happening with awakened people, but it still happens. So I'm just always curious. It's like, it doesn't mean I don't get triggered. It doesn't mean I don't have opinions. It just means that when I see that, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Am I triggered? What am I afraid of? Can that person take anything from me? What I usually find out is no, not unless I agree they can, right? Can this person take away my peace, my safety, my security, my children? Can they take that from me? No, they can't unless I agree they can. And this line of thought comes in the more you trust yourself, the more that you believe in yourself, and the more you empower yourself, the more you question the shame, the social shaming and the bandwagoning and the ridicule. The more you start looking at it and you're like, why am I worried about this? Oh, because you're scared. Oh, you're scared, and that's why you're acting. You think I'm going to take it from you. I understand now. I understand, and I have compassion for you. No, I'm not going to take it from you, right? And it might be a situation where you just simply have to walk away because you can't get much more out of it, and that's fine. It is painful. It is painful. The people who would attack you for being different or thinking differently are simply in deep fear, and they believe you're going to take something from them. And so what we can simply do is just, hold space in our hearts and know, I understand that feeling. I understand, and I am not the one who is going to threaten your sense of security, right? And you put that, I'm not doing this. I am not taking it from you. That's on them, right? So, and it really is. It's on them to heal that. So that's what we can do is simply send love, send compassion, send understanding, connect with them, try to understand where they're coming from. And when you do that, you can also send out forgiveness, untied karmically, period, right? As soon as you can get to that point where I see and I understand and I forgive you for being angry, and I forgive myself for feeling triggered, right? When you do that, done. So that's all they're saying right now, is that this is a time where I think that's going to increase. I'm already seeing it increase. They're just confirming it. So do take care of yourself. Do know that you are a powerful being. Understand that situations only have as much power as we allow them to have. So just like the metaphor with the boogeyman, when he's in the room and the lights are out, he seems more powerful, right? You flip that light switch on, you see it's just a weirdo in a mask. When you see what the boogeyman is, you're like, oh, it's you? And then you can start looking at it and go like, wow, you have issues. Like you start wanting to dissect, like and psychologically dissect what's this guy's issue? Why do you need to do this? But already you're taking your power back, right? Already when you're seeing it clearly, you now have, you realize that you have more choices, and that you're safer than you realize. And I'll continue to show up here too, and hopefully with more exciting info. But until then, I'm sending you so much love. You guys are amazing. I hope, I'm sending you lots of peace, and just stay in that power, baby. You got it. You got it. Mwah. Love you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.